Okay, we are now recording. Alrighty, how you guys doing today? See lots of you guys. Good thing you are safe at home because just telling one of my students here that's working on a robot that we're supposed to get 10 inches of snow. We made the national news this morning. They said 10 inches are in the benches in Salt Lake, so it's going to come down. Get your shovels out. Alrighty. Okay, let's see. We're coming down to the wire, you guys. End of the quarter is March 9th on a Thursday, but we're going to be shutting things down on March 7th for you guys on a Tuesday. That'll give me a couple of days to get everything graded and grades submitted on time. So the end of the quarter, March 9th on a Thursday. And then I have professional development on the 10th. So you guys, if you go to any of your schools close to your home or wherever, that's the day off of school. All right. Yeah, that doesn't give us much time at all. So our last unit, you guys, is going to be the endocrine system. So if you haven't taken that lymphatic system test yet, make sure that you guys get that taken care of. Last unit is the endocrine system. So I wanted to roll through some of the slides with you guys today. And then I've got my boyfriend here. We can pull out some of the organs that deal with the endocrine system and show you guys what those look like. Okay? All right. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about things? I don't know if you want to bring it up in this forum, but if you guys have questions or concerns, you could send me an email. Send me an email and then remind me again, because I'm finding that some of the emails are just getting lost in the mix. I've got so many emails I need to look through. So if you feel like you're getting lost in the mix, then send me an email and then the next day say, hey, Mrs. Riedel, look at that email again. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Also, if you guys are having issues, make sure that with today, with the virtual class, you guys, of course, get your 10 points. But if you miss a virtual class and you can't open up that video, let me know. Sometimes if I share it by way of email, that works out better, and the students are able to access that. So, and if at that point you can't even open it up at all, I'll have to come up with some alternate project for you guys to do. Got a couple of students that are having issues with their Chromebooks. Okay, all right. Okay, well, let's get into the endocrine system then. Endocrine system, one of those systems that we've got a couple of weeks on this. And then the other thing is make sure that you guys are looking at the career report. So each quarter you guys do a career report. I already published that. So it's one of the guest speakers that I have come in. I think it's the ER nurses for this quarter. I can't remember which quarter I have. Anyway, listen to their little lecture and then type up your career report. In order to get a CTE certificate, we need to have at least 3 career reports, and then the medical ethics paper that you guys already did, and then we have our test. You guys will be taking a final CTE test. All kids all across the whole entire state of Utah take that exact same test. So just a heads up. And on the endocrine system, there's not too many questions on that. They publish on the Utah State Office of Education. They publish any class that's a CTE class. They show you what the skills are that you're supposed to do. And with this class, there's not very many skills other than those essays that you have to do about the career speakers. They consider that to be a skill. And then, of course, the medical ethics paper, which you guys completed second quarter. Okay. And then, so that big test, everybody's going to be taking it, including you guys, including my online class. So as that gets closer, we'll be taking it like the second week of May. As we get closer to that, I'll tell you guys exactly how that's going to work. Okay? Alrighty. Okie dokie. Well, let me share my screen with you guys, roll through some of these slides on the endocrine system. Okay. All right. You guys able to see my screen here? So endocrine system, Unit 8 on the endocrine system. So you guys are a little bit ahead of my other classes. Today we were doing blood pressures. I taught the students how to take blood pressures. And then we're going to bump into the endocrine system after the cardiovascular system. And then in my online or on my in-person class, we do endocrine and the respiratory system together because those are two really short units. But with you guys, I have it as two separate units. So that'll be easier for you guys on your testing. Now, on the last two tests, I allowed you guys to do it again. I allowed two retakes or one retake, I should say. So 2 attempts on those last 2 assessments. And I took the highest of the scores. And again, some of you guys haven't done that, so you need to jump on and get those done. On the last one here on the endocrine system, you're only allowed 1 attempt. So make sure that you guys study. Okay? Some of the kids have been printing off those lecture guides and filling them in by hand. That's what I strongly suggest. Even though we do have a fillable PDF that most of you guys are able to do. But I would print off that lecture guide, and then you guys have it right in front of you as you guys take that test. You can just refer right to that. So just a suggestion. All right. Anyway, with the endocrine system, so when we studied chapter 4, we were talking about membranes and glands. With basically, you have 2 types of major glands, 2 major types. We have the exocrine glands and the endocrine glands. Exocrine glands are those that when they secrete their juices, like your salivary gland is sitting right here and it secretes salivary amylase and other components in your saliva to take it to your mouth so you can digest carbohydrates. That is considered an exocrine gland because it's going to go through a tube. Endocrine glands, endo meaning inside, exo meaning outside. Endocrine glands are those that are released into the tissue space around those cells. So they also sometimes refer to it as a duct gland versus a ductless gland. So basically, where is it secreting its juices? So the endocrine gland, the endocrine system. So when you think about this system, think about hormones. So they want you guys to know some of the hormones. Now we have over 50 types of hormones, but I think there's only 12 that they want you guys to know. And the big thing they want you guys to know is what is the hormone, where does it go, what does it do? So where does it go, meaning what's its target tissue, and then what's the function of that hormone? So we have a transport, by way of the bloodstream until it hits those target tissues. So endocrine system diffusing into the capillaries that are located right next to those glands. All right, so hormones basically help regulate your entire body. It talks about how regulation of you guys remember we talked about homeostasis and maintaining that total internal balance. The 2 major systems that are responsible for that, endocrine system, nervous system. So your endocrine system is kind of slower than, of course, your nervous system, getting that maintenance of that internal balance, keeping that balance all in line. So you'll see a lot of terms dealing with balance. So regulation of your energy balance, your metabolism, contraction of your heart, certain activities that happen in your immune system, all those kind of things. So it helps to maintain homeostasis, stabilization of that internal environment, helps with the reproductive system, helps play, responsible for your human growth hormone. So we need to know the locations, what's the gland, where does it target? So here's some of the major endocrine system glands. And you'll see some of these belong to other systems. One of the assignments that we did was we listed down the body systems and what they do. Well, you'll see that part B of that assignment was what are some body systems and that belong to more than one system, basically. What are some body organs, that belong to more than one system? So like the stomach falls under the endocrine system along with the digestive system. Or your heart, that's part of the cardiovascular system, but also part of the endocrine system. Or your gonads, the testes, the ovaries, those are part of the reproductive system also. But since they release hormones, they also are part of the endocrine system. Your kidneys secrete a hormone called erythropoietin that helps to control the regulation of your red blood cells. But yet the kidneys belong to the urinary system because they produce urine. So the heavy hitters I've got underlined for you guys: the hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, pancreas, and adrenal glands. And if you look at this picture here, now our picture's all cool, but I've got my boyfriend here and I figured I could show you guys some of those glands as we run through them. So let me stop present really quick and show you guys my boyfriend here. All right. So if I pop off his head, there's a little brain here that you can pop out. It's kind of cool. You see, this is just one of the hemispheres of the brain. This white portion here, we'll get into the nervous system with our fourth quarter. This white section here called the corpus callosum, it connects the two hemispheres together. But they want you guys to know the master gland, which is there, right there. About the size of a green pea. Okay. They also want you guys to know that little gland right there. It's called the pineal gland. So, sorry, not that right there. Okay, boom, boom, right here. So these two. The pineal gland and then your pituitary gland. So super duper small. All right, let's see, working our way down. You guys can see my boyfriend all right. Let me pop that up. Okay, let me get him closer. Okay, here's your thyroid gland. Your thyroid sits right in front of your trachea right here. It's a butterfly-shaped gland. And if we pop these out, oh, hello. Dang it. Just broke something that I wish I wouldn't have. Oh, my knee model just broke. That's okay. I've got some others. All right, now with my boyfriend being an adult, he is lacking his thymus gland. So here's your heart. Now you guys are still in high school, so you will still have a thymus gland. It sits right in front of your heart, kind of more superior, about right here, the thymus gland. And of course, I just took out his liver here. Liver, boom. I pulled out the stomach, and right behind the stomach, you guys have this green gland here. Actually, let me pull this out and show you guys. Oh, he's losing his kidneys. All right. So this here is showing you guys the back of the stomach is your major gland called the pancreas gland. Now the pancreas organ, the pancreas organ, that falls under the digestive system because it secretes digestive juices and it goes directly into the duodenum right here, the first 10 inches of your small intestine. But this also is considered an endocrine gland because it releases hormones called glucagon and insulin. So basically, you've probably heard of insulin before. You maybe not have heard of glucagon. So those two hormones released by your pancreas that regulates your blood sugars. Okay. So that's one of the major ones. And then down here, my boyfriend isn't my boyfriend. My boyfriend needs to be my boyfriend because it shows here. This is the bottom portion here. This is showing the urinary bladder. But we've got this. If I can find my box under here. So the cool thing that we have with this model is it comes with this little box here and we can make it a guy or a girl. So this shows the reproductive organs. So we can pop this in. So this is showing the model of the gal. Get this over here. So this is showing the hooks together like this. So these are the ovaries. This here, those little green ones there, and then fallopian tube. So again, those are going to be, creating hormones called estrogen and progesterone. And then on the guy, just the model for the guy. We pop that open, and you guys can see this right here. That's going to be the testes. So those are some of the major organs. Now the other one that I skipped over because his kidney fell out. You look right above here on the kidneys. See this yellow thing here and this yellow thing here, triangular shaped. Superior to the kidneys are going to be the adrenal glands. And those, of course, the hormone that it releases is adrenaline. So those are some of those major organs of the endocrine system. All right? All right. Let me pick up my knee. Oh, how sad. Totally thrashed my knee. Here's what my knee now looks like. Oh man. All right. Gravity is the worst thing ever. Okay, let me go back to my screen then. Run through some more of these slides with you guys. Whoops, present. So they want you guys to know, whoops, hello. Can you still hear me? My new line just shut off. Okay, all right. So this is showing you guys some of those. So we've got the thymus that you couldn't see visible on my boyfriend. And then there's the adrenal glands, as I mentioned before, the pancreas that I showed you guys, the ovaries, the testes, and those are the heavy hitters. All right. Oh, and also we've got these parathyroid glands. They're kind of embedded within the thyroid gland that help with your calcium. All righty. Okay. So your brain has a portion of it called the hypothalamus, and that hypothalamus is then going to help regulate your pituitary gland. So that pituitary gland, so we've got a little gland right there that's kind of in beige. That's that pituitary gland. They call it the master gland. So that master gland, it shows you guys here. So this is the hypothalamus, which is just below this round part right here in your brain is called the thalamus. This whole entire portion that they're showing you guys right up here is called the diencephalon. And then down below, this is the thalamus. So below the thalamus, hypo means below, is the hypothalamus. And scientists have been trying to figure out each little nook and cranny of this, trying to figure out what each portion does. But coming off right below it is the pituitary gland. That's known as your master gland because it regulates all of your other glands, basically. So here's some of those hormones and their targets. So growth hormone releasing hormone. That targets the pituitary. So these are coming from the hypothalamus going to the pituitary. So it's basically like my principal is the hypothalamus and the teachers are the pituitary gland. And then the students, of course, are going to be the target tissues. So hypothalamus then sending it to the pituitary gland, and then the pituitary releasing those hormones. So if you look at some of these hormones that they want you guys to know. So master gland, pituitary gland. We've got two parts to the pituitary gland. Got a front part and a back part. They call it the anterior and the posterior, as you guys can see colored here. And they release different hormones. Here's an actual picture of the pituitary gland. So again, it's about the size of a pea, so really small. And look at the blood supply here. So those hormones are secreted into the bloodstream and carried by way of the blood vessels. All right, so a couple of the important hormones that come from your pituitary gland, the back part of it, the antidiuretic hormone. So a diuretic is something that will affect how much urine your body produces. Like caffeine, if you guys drink a soda, like Mountain Dew or something, you're going to be peeing out more than you normally do. Chocolate, they found that can be kind of a diuretic. Water pills, sometimes people have issues with holding in enough water, and so they'll give them these water pills. But basically, this antidiuretic hormone will help to regulate how much water is being brought back in from your, and we haven't learned about this, but when we get into the kidneys, we'll learn about a specific part called the glomerulus. That basically helps to bring more water back into your kidneys. So one of the diseases that they want you guys to know is dealing with diabetes insipidus. You've heard of probably diabetes mellitus. That's when kids have issues with their blood sugars. Diabetes insipidus is when they have issues with their pituitary gland. So my brother-in-law had issues where he was urinating all of the time, like 20 times a day, you guys, with this disorder. And it got to the point where he couldn't even leave his house. We invited him to go to a movie, and they're like, no. He said, I'm going to have to get up like 4 times during the movie to pee. And how embarrassing is that? And how disruptive is that? So they finally did a bunch of MRIs and CAT scans and found that he actually had a tumor on his pituitary gland. And it was affecting his antidiuretic hormone. And so it was affecting how much urination his body was producing. We're talking liters per day. And so they eventually went in and did surgery and they removed that tumor. And now he's back to normal. So they call it diabetes insipidus, DI, not Deseret Industries, as that thrift store is called, but there's DI, diabetes insipidus. So when somebody says that they're diabetic, I'm like, oh, is it diabetes mellitus or is it diabetes insipidus? Are you having problems with your blood sugars? Are you taking insulin shots? Or are you having problems with, your antidiuretic hormone? All right, another important hormone is oxytocin. This is one that the girls will produce that causes childbirth. And so if you've got let's say you've got a OBGYN that's going to be out of town and he's like, hey, we need to deliver your baby. Can we start you early? Because I'm going to be out of town when your baby's due. Let's start you a week early or whatever. Or maybe go to the hospital and the doctor says, hey, let's start you. So they will give you synthetic oxytocin that causes the uterus to start to contract and push the baby down the birth canal. It also causes milk letdown. So this hormone is released. It's a positive feedback mechanism. If you guys remember studying that with homeostasis, as the baby latches onto the breast and it sucks, then that hormone, more of that hormone is released. And so it's the sucking on the nipple that causes that hormone to be released, more sucking. And once that baby pulls from the breast, that positive feedback mechanism is cut. And so now you no longer have that stimulus. And so that hormone is no longer released. So oxytocin deals with women with their childbirthing and with their milk production for their breastfeeding. Okay? All right. Next couple of hormones. So these, so we have, going backwards. Sorry, you guys. All right. Another hormone that they want you guys to know is human growth hormone. That's so easy, HGH. And basically what it does is it increases and targets your body cell growth. So you guys have a lot of human growth hormone. And as you get older and older, that human growth hormone can diminish. It targets the growth of body cells, stimulates protein synthesis, so it creates muscle mass, inhibits the protein breakdown. So as you build your muscles, it prevents them from breaking down, stimulates lipolysis or fat breakdown. So years ago, and I don't know if it's still popular anymore, but people were going and getting HGH drops that would cause them to lose weight. So they found there were some major issues with that though, so I wouldn't recommend it. All right. Another hormone that's created by your pituitary gland is thyroid stimulating hormone. So it basically stimulates your thyroid. Its target tissue is your thyroid to cause the thyroid to release its hormones. So again, since this is a pituitary, it's controlling your other organs or your other glands. Another hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone. That's hard to say, okay? Adrenocorticotropic. So basically its target tissue is going to be your adrenal glands. And you have an outside to your adrenal glands called the cortex and an inside portion to your adrenal glands called the medulla. So it targets the outside called the cortex of your adrenal glands. All right, your thyroid gland. So another one that we need to know. So your thyroid gland, I showed you guys on my boyfriend. It sits right here on your throat, you guys, just in front of your trachea. And here's a picture of it here. It's kind of a butterfly-shaped gland. This is what it actually looks like under the microscope. If you guys remember histology, these are simple columnar cells. And this here in the middle, this pink stuff, is the hormone that's being secreted and released. And what's interesting back here, it says this is the only gland that makes and stores a lot of hormone. It can store 100 days of that hormone. So that thyroid gland right here. And again, look at all the blood vessels around it. Okay, that's fine. All right. And then, yeah, we need to be finishing up. God, time's gone fast. All right. We'll just do this slide and another slide. So your thyroid gland, it releases T3 and T4 hormones. And basically, your thyroid helps to regulate your cell metabolism, basically how fast your body's going to be breaking down sugars, your basal metabolic rate. So when you think about your metabolism, how quickly your body breaks down molecules and how quickly does it build up those molecules. Increases lipolysis, that's the destruction or breakdown of fat to produce energy. Increases protein synthesis, so creating, your muscle mass. Increases glucose used for ATP to create that energy. Helps with human growth hormone to enhance your growth. And it enhances the secretion of epinephrine and norepinephrine, also known as adrenaline and noradrenaline. So those help to, your fight or flight response. So your thyroid gland is one of those. And when we get next time, we'll talk about like some of the diseases. What happens if somebody doesn't make enough thyroid hormone or makes too much? Hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. But what's kind of interesting is they found in order for your thyroid to work, it needs to have iodine. So what they've done is they've put iodine in our salt. So you can see here, iodized salt. They found that iodine is this really important mineral, and some people in like really poor countries, they don't get enough iodine in their diet. So a lot of them have issues with, growth and metabolism and some of those other things. So an iodine deficiency. So luckily here in the States, they've added iodine to our salt. So a lot of us don't have to worry about our body creating enough of those T3 and T4 because it contains, the difference between these is basically how many iodine atoms there are in it. Okay? And I think that's a good place to stop. We'll jump into adrenal glands next time. So start looking through some of those assignments and completing those. I remember there's a crash course for you guys to do. Stop screen. Okay, so there's a couple of assignments for you guys to complete, some quick quizzes starting into the endocrine system. Okay, so this one's kind of a bigger chapter, so we've got this week and then next week studying the endocrine system, and then that's going to be your last test. Okay, and I would suggest waiting until after next week to take that test until I have a chance to go through some more of those slides with you guys. All right, questions about anything we've discussed today? See, we've got the hiccups. All righty, okay, well, you guys have a great night. Stay safe, drive safe if you happen to be on the roads.
You too. Have a good one.
All right, take care, bye.